And actually the last shift of the term because next week is Solvidalia and the week after is Yom Kippur. So, the subject is Rosh Hashana because we don't have a Parashat Shavua this week. We have the Parashiot of Rosh Hashanah, which are on Shabbat Shuvah. We have Parashat Ha'azinu, and then we'll wait till Simchat Torah for the Zot HaBracha. So I chose to speak about Rosh Hashanah, and I have a bit of extra work to do this year because I have to speak about Rosh Hashanah on Rosh Hashanah twice to the girls who are coming. So I was trying to go in different ways. I'm going to start with Rabbi Sachs. Then I want to try something. I'm not sure. You're going to need to concentrate. It's a hard piece. It's a piece by Rabbi Nachman about creation, and it's quite challenging. But I think there are no chidushim in the piece. And I want to try and bring you something new. And then if we have time, we'll go to Sefer HaIkarim at the end to try and explain Malchiot, Zichronot, and Shofarot, which is an inherent part of our davening on Rosh Hashanah, Musaf Rosh Hashanah. But let's start with Rabbi Sachs. Where he's going to begin, Rabbi Sachs, in Ma'adim Sikha, is Rabbi Sachs is going to be challenged by the fact that there is no indication in the Torah at all about what Rosh Hashanah is. It doesn't say anything in the Torah. In fact, let's read straight away. המבקש למסור בחמשת חומשי תורה את משמעותה של היום הזה נתקע בתעלומה. To try and understand the purpose of this day is a very, very challenging program. רק פעמיים נוגעות התורה בנושא. I'll stop every time. Okay, just on two occasions the Torah touches the subject, and it's not clear at all what the Torah says. Have a look at the Psukim. Number one in Parashat Emor. וידבר השם אל משה לאמור, דבר בני ישראל לאמור, בחודש השביעי באחד לחודש יהיה לכם שבתון, זיכרון, תרועה מקרא קודש. We have a date. That's what we have. We have a date. That's all we have. Speak to the people of Israel, Bnei Israel, on the first of the seventh month, we will have a day that is called Zichron Teruah. That's it, Zichron Teruah. The second passage we have is in Bamidbar, and in Bamidbar it says, "V'chodesh hashvi be'echad lechodesh mikra kodesh yeh lachem, for melechet avodah lo ta'asu yom teruah yeh lachem." So in Bamidbar it's called Yom Teruah, and in Vayikra it's called Zichron Teruah. We know the Chazal is well known there. What Chazal says that Zichron Teruah is referring to Shabbat because we don't blow shofar on Shabbat when it's the first day. And the second pasuk is talking about a regular Rosh Hashanah. But that's not pshat in the psukim, right? That's a drash of Chazal because min haTorah you are allowed to blow the shofar when Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbat. It's a gezerah shel Chazal. It's a min haTorah. You can blow shofar, and we know that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai blew shofar in Yavne when Rosh Hashanah fell on Shabbat, and that's a different shir altogether. So we have two phrases: Zichron Teruah and Teruah. Levan miprotei korbanot ze hakol. Besides the detail of the korbanot, that's the only thing we have. In Shum Hezber, we have no indication, no illusion, no explanation what this day is about. Or what the Torah, there's one mitzvah to Rosh Hashanah as well, which makes it even more extraordinary, the fact that we don't blow shofar on Shabbos, because the only mitzvah in our Torah on Rosh Hashanah is to blow shofar, that's it. If you had to choose between a minyan and hearing shofar, you have to hear shofar. So it's even more extraordinary that Chazal came along and said, Sheva al Taseh, that you can't blow shofar if it falls on Shabbos, but again, for a different time. HaTorah gam eina omer be'ezeh kli mashrim otah. The Torah doesn't even say use a shofar. The Torah says Teruah. It says Teruah. Teruah could be trumpets. It could be chatzot srot. Zo yachol liot keren shel chaya. It could be the horn of an animal. Ach b'ota midah kaman yachol liot gam chatzot srot shebnei Yisrael yitzavu la'asot litkra b'hem. But it could be trumpets that we blew. Everything here is Torah Sheba'al Peh. Hamotivim hamerkazim. Skipped a few words. של המועדים האחרים, המצה והמרור בפסח. We're not missing symbols on Pesach. We have matzah, we have maror. We have a sukkah on Chag HaSukkot. We have arba minim on Chag HaSukkot. We have a tanit on Yom Kippur. לכולם ערך סמלי. All of them have some kind of message. אנחנו יודעים מה משמעותם, וכיצד הם קשורים למהותו של היום, and we know how to connect between the mitzvah and the symbolism of the day. אך התורה אינה אומרת לנו מה כל התורה מסמלת. The Torah doesn't tell us why we're blowing shofar. It doesn't tell us what it represents. האם זה קול של שמחה? Is this a trumpet of happiness, which is meant to reflect happiness? של אזהרה? Is it a warning? Or shel bechi, or is it crying? התורה אף אינה משתמשת לא כאן ולא בהקשר אחר במונח ראש השנה. In fact, the Torah doesn't even call it Rosh Hashanah. It's not even called Rosh Hashanah. Sukkot is called Sukkot. Chag HaSukkot. Pesach is called Pesach v'Chag HaMatzot. Shavuot is called Atzeret more than it's called Shavuot. At least in Chazal, הוא מופיע בתנ"ך כולו רק במקום אחד ומתייחס דווקא ליום כיפור. The word, the phrase Rosh Hashanah comes up once in the entire Tanakh, and it's actually a reference to Yom Kippur. Have a look at the pasuk in Yechezkel. ב-25 שנה לגלותנו בראש השנה בעשור לחודש. In the book of Yechezkel, Yom Kippur is called Rosh Hashanah. ב-14 שנה אחר שהוקטה העיר בעצם היום זה היה לה יד השם ויהווה אותי שם. So HaTorah, we're trying to define what the day is. HaTorah אף מבהירה בפסוקים שציטטנו שהיום שאנו קוראים לו ראש השנה איננה ראשיתה של השנה. ראש השנה is not the beginning of the year. היא מציינת אותו כיומה ראשון של החודש השביעי. It's the first day of the 7th month. It's the first day of the 7th month. לא של הראשון. החודש הראשון הוא ניסן. The first month is Nisan. So this is the first day of the 7th month. אם כן, איך הגענו לחג ראש השנה? How did we get from these psukim to Rosh Hashanah that we have today? How did you get there? How did you get from very, very ambiguous psukim to understand the importance of Rosh Hashanah? I told you the other night, for those of you who are already here, I feel physically nervous in the run-up to Rosh Hashanah. It's not a regular chag. It's not a regular day like Sukkot or Pesach where there's preparation, there's a certain amount of excitement, there's a certain heaviness, there's a certain feeling here that something very, very critical is about to happen. That's how I feel. It's a very emotional day, Rosh Hashanah, the day leading up to Rosh Hashanah, the feelings, the wishes that people are giving each other. Where does it all come from? Like, there's no allusion to this in the Psukim. Now, even though we know we have Torah Shabbat there has to be allusion in the Psukim, or at least in the notion. So let me suggest one thing to you, and then I'll tell you what Rabbi Sachs says. Birthdays are mentioned in the Torah in one place. You know what birthdays are mentioned in the Torah? Paro. Very good, Tali Ruby. Very good. Yom Holedet the Paro. You all knew that actually because you know the story, right? You know the story that Paro has a birthday, and he is either going to favor or disfavor the people in jail. That's when the people who have their dreams that Yosef interpreted, they either get killed or they get released. That's it. Yom Holedet the Paro. We celebrate birthdays. I know. Well, you do. I celebrate them less now. We're trying to slow down a bit. But when you're even younger than you are, you ask a 10-year-old how old they are, and they say, well, I'm 10, 3 months, 4 days, and 3 hours. I'm almost 11, really. And they just want to be that older, right? I don't know when that stops. I think it's already stopped for you, right? You're not really saying, well, I'm really 19 when you're 18, or you're not really doing that anymore. But what is a birthday? Like, who cares? So a birthday can be Hakarat HaTov, right? If you're a Chabadnik, you would know that. In Chabad, there's great celebration of birthdays. It's a very big deal. My wife is very machmir on birthdays, to say Tehillim, to go to Kivrei Tzadikim, to make brachas to people, and so on and so forth. What's the essence of a birthday? Why have a birthday? And inherent within that question is also, why do we have years? Well, who cares? Who cares that I'm 25 and you're 18? What difference does it make, right? I look my age, you look your age, and that's it. There's no, who cares? What does it matter? You know, my ability to converse with you and small talk with you would be no better if I was younger. It was no better. Historically, it's a proven fact. So what does it matter that I'm a bit older and that we have nothing in common, or we have something in common? The age isn't what we have in common. And I came to an understanding of perhaps what years are, because the Gemara says it's Rosh Hashana l'Shamim, when I was the father of a newborn. And something that we don't realize when we're your age, but you realize when you're a bit older, is that doctors, who are incredibly good people generally, and they've chosen a vocation which is incredibly positive, without you, they cannot diagnose a thing. They can't diagnose anything, a doctor, when you go to a doctor. Without you telling them what hurts or where it hurts. They can look down your throat and maybe see it's a bit inflamed. They can look at your ear and see it's a bit inflamed. If it's any more confusing than that, without your advice, they can't work out what's wrong with you. And when do you find this out? When you have a baby. You take a baby to a doctor and the baby can't say anything. The baby's just screaming. Wherever the doctor pokes the baby, it will scream. And I did point this out a few weeks ago in one of my shiurim. If you ever go to get your eyes tested and they swap the lenses around, you know when they drive you crazy with the lens, they swap it around, and he's playing with the same lens. Why? Because he's going to give you glasses in relation to your reporting. If you report wrong, you're going to ruin your eyes. And if you're a hypochondriac and you tell stories to a doctor, he will diagnose you with the wrong pills. So when a baby is small, how do we know that a baby is developing the way it's meant to develop? How are you meant to know? So nowadays they have these little books, which can drive you absolutely crazy, right? After 2 months, the baby is meant to lift their little finger, I'm making it up, and go like this. And you're looking at the baby after 2 months, no. And if it doesn't lift its little finger, oh my God, intensive care. We run to the hospital, the doctor didn't lift it in the bed, the doctor goes, the firstborn, right? If it's your fourthborn, you don't care, you don't look. You know that, right? If you're the firstborn, so you've got that problem, and if you're the fourth child, all the pictures at home of your elder brothers and sisters, and you spent your life with hand-me-downs. But the first child, we just don't know what's going on. But the book says after 3 months you ought to crawl. I'm making it up, right? The book says after 5 months you're meant to talk. What happens if you don't? So they start checking it out. And that's the way, Baruch Hashem, they are able very often nowadays to ascertain whether there's something wrong with the child at an early age, which is very important, by comparing and contrasting. You understand that the only way they can compare and contrast is by dividing up by years. Because you can't compare a 40-year-old with a 5-year-old and say, well, the 40-year-old can do math and the 5-year-old can't, so the 5-year-old is backward. That would be ridiculous, right? Because the 40-year-old's been in the world for 40 years. He has much more knowledge, accumulated much more. So in order to compare and contrast, in order to see where you are, we need years. So we can compare 18-year-olds together, 15-year-olds together, 14-year-olds. So what am I saying? The definition, the only purpose, practical purpose in the world that there be a birthday is to analyze. Is to check up, is to see where you are, where you're going, who you are. It's the only way that you can compare and contrast yourself. There's no reason to compare a 14-year-old with a 30-year-old in any way, not a physical and not mentally. It won't do you any good. You won't get anywhere with it. So the only reason we should have different years would be able to ascertain what's going on. Din. That's what we're doing. That's why we have a birthday. It's not just a matter of a cake and it's my day. And I'm going to have a surprise because it's my day. It's, what did I do this year? Where am I this year to last year? It's not my problem. It's not your mum and dad's problem. It's your problem. It's your problem if you're not doing anything. It's your life, right? It's your life. So I don't think the Torah needs to allude further. The minute the Torah says that there's going to be a beginning, then we understand there needs to be a beginning and there needs to be an end, because that's how we define and that's how we analyze. That's what we're doing. That's what a thinking human being is meant to. Ladies, we're not super animals, right? We're not. That's what we want to do. If we just want to be very, very clever dogs and cats, it's not such a gross zach to be a clever monkey. The question is, you want to be a human being. Where do you want to go further with that? What do you want to do with your? Do a bit more than knowing the words to a song and seeing the latest movie. Like, what do you want to do with your life? I feel like talking, content to your life, purpose to your life. Now see what Rabbi Sachs says. So Rabbi Sachs mentions something here which is very interesting. בשלבים, last paragraph on the first page. בשלבים הראשונים בהתפתחותו של עובר כשעדיין אין הוא אלא שרוק קטן של תאים, הוא כבר מכיל את תקינו. We know that when a baby is very, very small, it already has DNA, right? At a very, very young stage of development, the child, the baby, the embryo, has שרשרת DNA, הארוחה שתצמיח ילד ולימים גם אדם בוגר. And from that DNA will come a child, and from that child will come an adult. המבנה הגנטי שעתיד לעצב את האדם הזה נמצא שם כבר בהתחלה. The genetical makeup of an adult is already there when we're embryos, right? We know that. We see what they're doing with DNA today, right? We see how DNA is developing. כך הוא גם ביהדות, it's the same with Judaism. נקרא משנה תלמוד באגדה, אפילו מה שתמיד עתיק להורות לפני רבו כבר נאמר למשה ניסיה. התפתחותה של ראש השנה הייתה גנוזה כבר בגלותו הראשונה. He said, every idea is exactly the same. So if a human being, it comes from one cell, he says the ideas in the Torah have always been there. They always originate from the same place. כדי לדעת כיצד להתפתח, עלינו לפתח הרמזים. But in order to understand, we need to see how the idea develops. Over the page. אנו מתבוננים בפסוקים המעטים על ראש השנה. This is just an idea to ponder my main theme. We're just doing hors d'oeuvres at the moment. I'll bring up the main course in a minute. אנו מתבוננים בפסוקים המעטים של ראש השנה, מבחינים תחילת תמיד שהוא חל בו. There's only one day to Rosh Hashanah. Of course, Rosh Hashanah is one day, right? It's not like 2 days Rosh Chodesh, correct? Because if it was 2 days Rosh Chodesh, then the first day of Rosh Hashanah would be the 30th of Elul. But it's not. The first day of Rosh Hashanah is the 1st of Tishrei. But everyone keeps 2 days Rosh Hashanah, even in Yerushalayim, because no one could get out the Eidot about the new moon. Even if you're in Yerushalayim, you didn't know, because it's the first day of the month. So even in Israel, we keep 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. It's the only chag that we keep 2 days of. B'chodesh hashvi'i be'echad l'chodesh. But the real date of Rosh Hashanah is the 1st of Tishrei. That is the date of Rosh Hashanah. The third day is going to be Songah Day. It's going to be Gimel Tishrei, right? It's not going to be the 2nd of Tishrei. HaMizbah Sheva No'oten Tamid Al Kedusha. Throughout the Torah, it is a consistent throughout the Torah that 7 means holiness. Examples. הדבר הראשון שהוכרז בתורה כקדוש הוא יום השביעי שבת. Shabbat is the first thing that is called holy time. It's the 7th day. Hashana Hashviyah, the 7th year, is a Shemitah year. Shnat Hashmita, Kedusha Afi. Ve'acharei Shiva Machzorei Shemitah ba'Hashana HaYovel b'Shnat HaChamishim. 7 times 7 brings us to Yovel, which is in the 50th year. That's also Kadosh. So HaChodesh HaShvi Holem Hu Tamid Azor. So if the 7th day of the week is holy, the 7th year in the 7th cycle is holy. 7 times 7 is holy. It goes without saying that the 7th month is holy. And if the theme of the 7th day of the week is Shabbat, is God the Creator, and the theme of Shemitah, the 7th year, is God the Creator, then it goes without saying that the theme of Rosh Hashanah is God the Creator. You with me so far? Okay. I hope this will work, ladies. I've not done this before, and I wasn't thinking of doing it until about 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, when I decided I would try and do this with you. I'll tell you the context of where I saw this particular essay. It's one of the Rashi Yeshiva in Orot Shaul. It's a yeshiva my son's learning in. I sat very near him in yeshiva. There's a very, very clever guy, Rav Tanya Granot. He wrote 2 volumes on the Holocaust. The volumes he wrote on the Holocaust were Machshavti volumes. And one of the volumes that he's dealing with on the Holocaust is the why. And he gives lots of different theological reasons. And then he goes into this thing by Rebbe Nachman, And I'm not dealing with the Holocaust on this occasion, but this is in the context of where it is in the book. I want you to know, because I've spoken about why is the seventh month holy? For the same reason the seventh day is holy, because of creation, because of God. And for the same reason the seventh year is holy, because Kili Kol Haaretz, because God is the creator. So belief in God here is crucial, ladies. What's the first day of Aseret Yemei Teshuvah? What's the first day of Aseret Yemei Teshuvah? Rosh Hashanah is the first. There aren't 10 days without Rosh Hashanah. There aren't 10 days of Teshuvah without Rosh Hashanah, right? It starts on the 1st of Tishrei, finishes in Yom Kippur on the 10th of Tishrei. Elul Alot Yemei Teshuvah, Aseret Yemei Teshuvah in the Siddur, right, is because we use the Siddur on Yemei Chol, we use a Matzah on Rosh Hashanah, so it's only those 7 days. But it begins with Rosh Hashanah. Why does it begin with Rosh Hashanah? Because this whole process is a waste of time if you don't believe in God. It's a waste of time. You don't believe in God, go away. Do something else. You can't return to God. You can't analyze. You can't look in if you don't believe in God. Rosh Hashanah is about believing in God, God the Creator. The whole theme of Rosh Hashanah is God. There's no Archei to Rosh Hashanah. There's no Hashem Bagadnu on Rosh Hashanah. It's Melech. Melech. That's it. God the Creator. How many people in this whole universe stop to think about creation, about God the Creator, and themselves in the context of that creation? So join me with this Rabbi Nachman. I hope you'll appreciate it. It's Rav Tamir Granot explaining Rabbi Nachman and quoting Rabbi Nachman at the same time. Ha'arizal b'yesher reshit habriyah. You need to concentrate here. I hope it's okay. Ha'arizal b'yesher reshit habriyah hi b'tuah shel simsum elokim me'atzmo el atzmo. Have you ever heard the phrase simsum? So let's try and explain that simsum. The idea is that God is omnipresent and he is all-encompassing. He's everywhere. If God is everywhere, how can there be a world? How can there be a world if God is everywhere before the world was created? So the Arizal said that God contracted himself to make room for the world to be created. It's called Simsum. I'll say it again in Hebrew, so you see I'm not making it up. God Kavyachol contracts himself so there will be room for the world to exist. So far, okay? Okay. When God contracts himself, there is an open space for the world to come into existence. Koloma, that is to say, that means that the infinite God is not present in the world. I have to finish the sentence here, okay? He's not present in the world in order that the world be able to exist. And if God removes himself, then there's room for the world to be created. Bear with me, okay? If you don't understand the English, just tell me. But if you understand what I said so far, it will fall into place. Worlds can only come into being if God removes himself, if he contracts himself, then there's room for the world to be. If I'm standing in this place, nothing can stand in this place. The only way that something can stand where I'm standing is for me to move away. And then something else can stand here. But if I'm standing here, nothing else can stand here. Rabbi Nachman mevaseis Torat Emunah v'Kfira shelo al Torat HaChalal HaPanui shel Ha'arim. Rabbi Nachman's whole thesis of belief and heretics is based on this Halal Panui, this open space that God has left open for the world to exist. The Kasher Ratzah, I have a point here. The Kasher, this is now we're quoting Rabbi Nachman. The Kasher Ratzah Hashem Yitbarach Libroi et Ha'olam. When God wanted to create the world, which is tonight, Kaf Hei Elul is world of creation. Rosh Hashanah is a celebration of the creation of man. Tonight, Monday night, is Kaf Hei Elul, is when the world was created. Our celebration, very significant, is the celebration of man's creation. When God wanted to create the world, says Rabbi Nachman, "Lo haya makom levaro machmat sheyach hakol ein sof." There was no room for God to create the world because God is everywhere and God is infinite. So he reduced the light is the reflection of God. He reduced the light. And then there was a vacuum created, and in that vacuum the world came into existence. And inside that vacuum, the whole world was created inside that vacuum where God had removed himself from. That is creation. God contracting himself in order that the world be created. And this empty space is essential for the world to be created. The world can't be created without this space. Because without the empty space, the world can't be created. So far, you're with me? Mm-hmm. And if your mind's thinking ahead, you're going to understand immediately what the problem is. Well, so God's not in the world? So where's God? Rabbi Nachman thought about that too. So this empty space, this is like an oxymoron. It contradicts itself. If this space has been made empty for the world to be created in it, what's left? If God's not in the world, so the world's heaven, the world's a waste of time. Let's go. אנו משתמשים במונח חלל, it's a vacuum, it's empty area, כדי לאפשר לחשוב על מציאות כלשהי. אך אם לחשוב רגע על מה שאנו אומרים, נגלה שאיננו מבינים בעצם את המילים שאנו אומרים או חושבים. If we take this literally, the idea that Rabbi Nachman has purported, it can't be. Because if God removes himself from the world, there is no world. The world only exists because of God. So on the one hand, in order to create the world, God has removed himself from the world. On the other hand, that can't mean that God's not in the world. Next paragraph. Look at Rabbi Nachman. This is a contraction of this empty space. We can't understand it. Only in the future. Because there are two opposites here. There are two opposing ideas. Bear with it. It's really, I waited over 50 years to see this. You can see it now. Yesh v'ayin, there is and there isn't. The whole essence of the world is created by God removing himself from the world. He has removed godliness from the world. So there's no God there. Because unless there's no room there, it can't be created. In truth, says Rabbi Nachman, there has to be God. And I can't explain it to you enough. Ladies, this is, in a nutshell, this is our nightmare, this is our headache. The world is called what in Hebrew? Olam. Correct? What is the root of Olam? What word sounds similar to Olam? Not Ne'elam. Ne'elam. What does Ne'elam mean? Hidden. Wow. The essence of this world is hidden. Ha'olam is Ne'elam. The world is hidden. Meaning, in order to create the world, God removed the overt light from the world so there could be a world. But in doing so, God is reduced. And that is a challenge that you and I have every day. The essence of creation removes overt clarity of the Creator, because otherwise there couldn't have been a creation. That Simsum is Ne'elam, is Olam, it's Elam, that the world is hidden. That's what we are struggling with all the time. When some guy with a beard stands up and talks about God and half the room turns off because I'm thinking about what toppings I should have tonight on my pizza and how many burgers I should put in the bun and whether I should add lettuce or not, because after all I don't want to spoil the taste of the meat. And that's what's going through my mind when I'm trying to pretend I'm interested. And this lunatic's trying to talk about creation and Simpson and why does it not connect? Because we don't see the light. Because God, in order to create the world and in order to make room for the world, seems same et atzmo. So we have like two opposite themes taking place here. So, penultimate paragraph from the bottom of the page. Hatanai of Riyadu, and therefore the condition of creation, still the same page at the bottom. The condition of creation, ka'amur yetzirat chalal reik ma'in sof Elokim. In order to create the world, God had to remove intense godliness from the world. Because if all of godliness was in the world, there would be no room for creation. So from that perspective, there is, in quotation marks, less godliness in this world. It can't be without God, because if it's without God, there's no one. So what is our reality? שאלה ניתן להעמיד על הלכה מוקדמת, הלכה תיאולוגית אמונית גם יחד, שלית אתה פנוי ממנו. This is classic Hasidic word that God is everywhere. But if God is everywhere, how did he reduce himself? So we have to conclude that God is here. But I'm not the Chadesh chief to tell you that he's here in a way that is not obvious to us. It's not overt. When we talk about light and darkness in Kabbalah, which isn't my subject, and because it's not my subject, I prefer to make it easier to understand by just comparing light and darkness. When the lights are on, you can see. And when it gets dark, you can't see. Real dark. I'm not talking about dark with electrical light. Dark like a camp when there's no light. That's when you see the stars, right? That's when you see how many stars there really are in heaven when it's pitch black. When it's dark, you can't see. When it's light, you can. So let's talk about light and darkness in that way. So if God is at full strength to the uphold, then there's absolute light, there's absolute clarity, there's absolute understanding, all of our confusion. The day we die, we have that light. Because on the day we die, our soul goes to heaven. We're no longer under challenge. We are immediately exposed to truth. And there's no longer choice. It's too late to change anything. That's why there are no mitzvot in Shammai. That's why when we go to a cemetery, you're not allowed to wait. You sit outside because dead people can't do mitzvot. Because the challenge, the struggle of life is over once you die. The struggle, why? Because the body's gone. And the eternal soul is there. There's no more challenge. There's nothing left. That's when you see absolute light. That's when, because it's truth. Truth is light. But this world, Olam, has a simsum of light. The light is contracted. So I'm not Machadesh to you, right? We have a lack of clarity. That lack of clarity will make us play on our phones when we could be listening to Shiurim. That lack of clarity will make us not come to things which will help us and pursue things that are nonsense. That lack of clarity means we don't have the light. את שאלתו ניתן להעמיד על הלכה מוקדמת, הלכה תיאולוגית במובן גם יחד שלית אתה פנוי ממנו, אין מקום פנוי ממנו, אמנם נראה שהקושי איננו עומד על ההלכה הזאת, שהרי זה בדיוק העשה של חלל פנוי. On the one hand, you have this idea which is God is everywhere. On the other hand, you say in order to create the world, he has to create this vacuum. There is no answer to that contradiction except for the fact that the world can't be without God. Over the page, הבעיה היא עמוקה יותר, ולא מכך שמבחינה יסודית, אין לנו אפשרות לחשוב את המושג החלל פנוי. אם החלל לכן פנוי לגמרי, הרי הוא לא כלום. It can't be an empty vacuum because then there's nothing there. God has to be there. But God must be there in a different format. הלא כלום איננו מושג המאשר כוונת הבריאה. If God isn't in this world, there's no world. We can't say God wasn't in the Auschwitz because no one would have breathed. Nothing would have happened. The whole place would have disappeared. God is everywhere. Explain how he was in Auschwitz, that's a different question altogether. You can't say God, the minute God lets his finger off this world will disintegrate. And you say it every morning, that God creates and recreates every day. We said, everyone says it. Every day in tefillah. הלא כלום איננו מושג המאפשר את הבנת הבריאה משום שהוא כפשוטו לא כלום. לפיכך אין יאה לו הכינוי חלל. So how can you call the world a vacuum? It can't be a vacuum because the world can't be without God. שבתוך יכול אחר כך להתרחש תהליך האצילות של עולמות, שהרי אין לו תוך ואין כלום. בקצרה, הלא כלום אינו יכול להסביר שום דבר. To say that God removed himself doesn't explain anything to me because he couldn't have removed himself totally because there wouldn't be a world. ודאי לא הייתה בריאה. כדי שהחלל פנוי יהיה קשור, חלל כלומר אופן מסוים שמסיר אותו מרחב שבתוכם יכולים להתרחש תהליכים ומוכרח להיות דבר מה. For something to happen in this world, for you and I to breathe, for you to hear what I'm saying, for you to see me, there has to be God in the world. There has to be Shekhinah in the world, and we wouldn't be able to see each other, hear each other, we wouldn't exist. That's not a problem. That is Olam. That is what Olam is. That's Olam Hazeh. Olam Ne'elam. We don't know. We can't. And how does that connect with Rosh Hashana? Because this is a day of creation. Where God created this Mitziyut for us to live in this Mitziyut. Now in the last part, I want to go to the bottom of the page, Sefer HaIkarim. One of the major parts, and they do connect together. And Rosh Hashanah is creation. I've tried to explain to you part of creation. And what I think, if we sat in a circle and spoke about it, then each person will say, I don't see God. Where's God? Where's the last time I saw God? And what you're explaining is what Rabbi Nachman says. It's a chalal panoi. And there will never be a situation in this world where you totally see God, because the essence of this world is simsum, is God contracted. But he is here. But Ne'elam, Ha'olam Ne'elam, he's hidden in this world. And when we get to our tefillah on Musaf, on Rosh Hashana, we will speak Musaf, and Musaf is the longest tefillah of the whole year on Rosh Hashana. It's longer than Yom Kippur. We have 3 sections to the Musaf. We have the beginning and the end, and 3 sections in the middle. Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. When we're talking about creation per se, it's not enough to say we are celebrating creation. And honestly, I don't think, I've not done a survey, and I've not done a poll to try and check out what people do believe and don't believe. And I think in the neighborhoods that I've grown up in, and I grew up ostensibly with Goyim, I think people have much lesser of a problem with creation than they do with Hashgacha. They have much more of a problem with history than they do with biology. It's harder to argue. Certainly my first meeting with God and belief was through biology. Through biology, just learning biology. I wasn't even sure. Just learning biology. Every single sugya I learned in biology was just emunah. It was just, I couldn't believe that I still can't believe, when you see how a body works, that this just happened, it just developed through evolution. It might be the way that God used, but this is all by chance. It's, to me, ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. And I think you hear God's name comes up more than any other word in the world every day, all over the place. And I don't think that's the problem most people have. I think the problem most people have is Hashgacha. Is may the God created the world, but who says God's watching? Who says God's involved? When we come along on Rosh Hashanah, which is holy because it's the 7th, and it's holy because it's creation. It's creation because God made room for man. And within that, inherent within that creation, it's the challenge that we have is to find God. Find God in the Ne'elam, the hidden God, because he has contracted himself. But what God are we looking for? So we have, says the Mishnah, 3 psukim that deal with Malchuyot, 3 psukim that deal with Zichronot, and 3 psukim that deal with Shofarot. And when we read the repetition of the Amid on Rosh Hashanah, at the end of Malchuyot we'll blow Shofar, and at the end of Zichronot we'll blow Shofar, and at the end of Shofarot we'll blow Shofar. And if you have the zechut to be of Sephardi background and you daven in a Sephardi shul, Then in the silent Amida, they will stop at a certain stage and someone will put his hand up and they will blow for shofarot and everyone will carry on quietly. And then they'll stop and they'll blow for zichronot and everyone will carry on quietly. And then they'll stop and they'll blow a third time. And they'll do that twice in the repetition of before. What is malchuyot, zichronot, and shofarot? Having established this day is about creation, having established this day is about God. It's not a Yom Tov, ladies. If I could, honestly, if we could, we all have, Baruch Hashem, older parents, and if I could do 2 days here and bring a minion here for 2 days, I would do it. It hurts me to think that a girl who goes away for Rosh Hashana and get up just for shofar and go back to bed. I can't even think about it. It's such a thing. I've never done it in my life, even when I wasn't so religious. So the girl would just wake up maybe for shofar or go to a late shofar, so just to hear shofar and then go back to bed. To me, it doesn't make any sense. You know, if the judge said to me, you know, I'm judging you this day, and I say, I'm going to shluff, I'll pop around later, just tell me what the sentence was. It doesn't make any sense. It never made any sense to me, even when I wasn't so intense in my religiosity. But so God is a creator, that's what we think about. But what creation we think about? Have a look at the Sefer Yikarim. And he explains, there are many different explanations. הדרך הנכון שיהיה לי בספירת העיקרים שהם שורשים יסודים בתורה האלוקית הוא כי העיקרים כל ההכרחים לדעת אלוקים הם שלושה. He says there are 3 parts of our belief. Not just the belief of God the Creator. הם מציאות השם. One is that God exists. And like we said before, if God doesn't exist, we don't exist. He can exist without us. We can't exist without him. Number 2 is hashgacha. It's that God is involved. God is involved, and that I am accountable for my actions. That there is chava. That I'm accountable for my actions. I can't tell God compromises. I can't tell God my alarm didn't go off. God knows all my compromises. He's got a videotape of my whole life. He'll play different parts to me at different times to say you're contradicting yourself. This isn't true. This isn't true. There's chava on it. That every single thing I do, I get scar and I get onage. Hashgacha. What hashgacha is, we've got the whole year to discuss and more. And the third is Torah min Hashemayim. So Torah comes from heaven. Now see what he does here, ladies. Hamoreh al hayot gimel ikarim halal shoresh yesod enu sheba yadi adam letzlachato amitid ומה שהסתו לנו אנשי כנסת הגדה בתפילת מוסף של ראש השנה ברכות, מלכויות, זיכרונות ושופר. Having said that we are going to celebrate, we are going to discuss creation, we're going to spend our time now. We're taking a time out from the rubbish, okay? A real time out. From the nonsense. We're going to think about it a bit. For just a couple of days, we're going to stop and think. Maybe a few more days after, and then the Yom Kippur. We're going to stop. Just stop for a minute. Just stop. Stop. And think. Not just about God the Creator, but about Mashkiach and Torah min Hashemayim. So says Sefer Yikarim, it's not enough for Rosh Hashanah to celebrate creation. Malchuyot is creation. Zichronot is about our deeds. It's about being accountable for our actions. And Shofarot is about where the Torah comes from. God's word in this world. Have a look inside. I think it's a masterpiece. שהם כנגד ג' העיקרים הללו, להאיר לב האדם, כי בהאמנת הקימה לנו עם סעיפיהם השורשים כפי מה שהוא יזכה אדם במיליון לפני שמות השם. If a person can concentrate on these things, and be aware of these things, then we may be okay. I want to tell you something which I will repeat. I know I'm going to repeat it because I've written it down. I need you to know something, ladies. I want you to know something very, very serious here. It's not about God writing our names in any books. It's not about that. It's about you writing your name in a book. And if you can't be bothered to write your name in a book, then God will write your name in a book. It's about you writing your name in the book of life. And if you don't do that, it's your problem. When we speak to God and we say that Palel is reflexive. Reflexive means I write my name in the book of life. The book of life is not Justin Bieber. Ribono shel olam. It's not these stupid games. That's not the book of life. Zochreinu lechayim, melech hafetz b'chayim, lema'ancha Elohim chayim. You're going to say it, you're going to sing it, you're going to close your eyes. I want to live. Why do I want to live? For you, I want to live. Not for Haley, and not for Justin, and not for Michael Jordan, not for this one and that one, and not for Canada, and not Temple Prophet, not for Subway Slippers, but for God, I want to live. That's what we're praying for. It doesn't say the man Temple Plump, I want to live. Not only that, ladies, you know that yourself. If someone comes running into this room now and says, ladies and gentlemen, you have 5 minutes to live. I put every rand I got down that not one of you will sit here playing on a phone. Not one of you will sit here playing on a phone. If someone walks into this room and says, you've got 5 minutes to live. And if you do, you need to be put away for those 5 minutes. Not one of you, because you all know it's a waste of time. You all know it's a waste of time. You all know it's nourished. It's nourished. Who's going to write? I challenge you. I challenge myself before I challenge you. Who's going to write in the book of life? God only writes if we don't. God only writes if we don't. We've got to stop. Right? We've got to stop in these days and remember these principles. If you don't believe in what he's saying here, it's hard for me to understand what you're doing in this room. But nonetheless, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to understand Hashgacha, and the fact that it's a challenge is everyone agrees that there's free choice. Everyone agrees that there's God's involvement of the world. The big machloket is, where does free choice end and where's God involvement end? There's a demarcation dispute. How much Hashgacha and how much free choice? But these are two principles of faith. If you do stop believing, then you will tell me that in that shir. Those are two principles of faith that we have in 13. There is free choice, there is punishment, but there is also Hashgacha. Where do they meet? They meet somewhere. Depends whether you go according to the Rambam, whoever you choose to go according to, and which interpretation of the Rambam you chose to. But ladies, we are accountable. It's Malchuyot. It's not just crowning God as king. It's Zichronot. It's Zichronot. It's our actions. Our actions. We had this phrase in England when I was younger, which is probably still there. You've made your bed, you've got to lie in it. What of mine was its responsibility. You do actions, then pay the price. If you cheat the system and get thrown out, don't write me a letter. Don't write me a letter. It's your problem. You made the decision. You're a grown adult. Do what you do. You made your bed, you've got to lie in it. It goes for the good. Bezrat Hashem. You do good actions. We're full of good actions. We have 3 Shana Bed girls, and instead of going to the beach, they went to see Rachel Six Shiva. That goes down good. That's good action. I don't even know who they were, but it's a good action. These are good actions, and then they're bad actions. And what's the third? Shofarot. Shofarot talks about Har Sinai. I don't know how to tell you this, ladies, because it means it's true. It's true. It means what we're learning is true. It's Min HaShamayim. Most of our lives, we're not surrounded by truth. And when you've lived long enough, please God, you'll see that. You'll see the things that they told you were true values today will be the opposite in 20 years' time. I've seen that. Things that people lived by 30 years ago, 50 years ago, are passé now. And if you mention them, you're out of, you could get fired even. That's not true. That's group dynamics. That's human search for truth. The Torah is Min HaShamayim. What we're learning is true. It's true that anything you'll ever meet, anyone. And these are the 3 principles, says the Sefer Karim, that we are going to pray about on Rosh Hashana. We're going to go shofar about. Shofar speak about please God on Rosh Hashana itself, but that's what we're talking about. It's not just the 7th day because God is the creator. It's what creation is, which I think, and the reason I brought you Rebbe Nachman It's just to show you that this has always been a problem, right? It's always been a challenge for human beings, that the essence of the world is challenging, because in order to create the world, God has to reduce himself, which means our experience of God is less intense by definition. And then the third is Sefer Ikarim, which is it's where we're headed, it's what we're looking for, it's the principles of our faith, not just God the Creator. But the God is involved in the world, and I think for us, it's accountability. Accountability is such an important word. But and before we talk about accountability to God, accountability to your parents or your teachers, the most important thing, ladies, is your accountability to yourself. You have to be able to look in the mirror and know that you've done your best. For you. We've got to be past that high school time where we think we glory in our victory because we managed to get in after curfew and no one caught us. Champ. I managed to not go to Shir and Dr. Yocheved didn't notice. If you're still there, you need to be back in elementary school. This accountability is to you, to yourself, to myself. That's my accountability. Is I am accountable to God. I'm accountable to other people, but I am first and foremost accountable to myself. And then to know, even if you don't appreciate it yet, there is nothing truer than the Torah that we read. And you have different shades of Torah. You have Rabbanita Torah, Rabbeinu Torah, Rav Yoni Torah, Miriam Wolf Torah. You have lots of different Torah. But the essence of that Torah is truth. And in a world that is so full of sheker, you're probably not even aware of the fact that after the war, after the Germans did what they did, both America and Russia saved Nazis, gave them new identities and took them home so they could help develop their countries. People who killed the Jews in cold blood were given new identities in America and in Russia. So what a sheker. We've got this little ball of truth, of Torah min Hashamayim. Torah min Hashamayim isn't just a detached idea, but it means that what we're doing is authentic, it's real. So that's just a few thoughts to come together in Rosh Hashana. It's good every so often in life. That's what we're meant to be doing here all year. It's to just take a time out, right? Take a time out. They do that. I saw that in a basketball game, right? They take times out and they huddle together and they talk together and give high fives. And why they do a timeout? Because they want to stop the game, right? They want to collect their thoughts. I presume that's the reason they do it. I myself was never a big basketball. I was never a big any player. But certainly not basketball player, but it's time out, right? So this is it, right? Time out like that, time out for the cool ones, there you go. Time out. We're taking the time out, Rosh Hashana. We have the Zechut ladies to be able to take a time out for a whole year. Mamash a time out before we go back into that jungle, which we have to go back into and live in and develop in and do whatever we can do. It's the time out, and you're taking your time out. The holiest place on earth. So that's an incredible support. We should have a Ketzivah, a Chatima Tova, and ladies, a Shana Tova and a Shana Chadasha. A new year means not doing the same thing again. If you do the same thing again, it's not new. Okay.